Hello everyone, and today I want to explain to you how bedrock breaking works. But to start off, first I'm going to be showing you how you can actually set it up in survival. This was suggested by Picasar's Gaming, and one of his suggestions was explaining bedrock breaking. He had some other suggestions like duping or dupe glitches, but I think that deserves a whole separate video. But first of all, here's how you would do it in survival. For example, if we wanted to break a block of bedrock directly under this block, what you would do is first you will place a sticky piston facing into the block that bedrock block that you want to break is under. Then you place a normal piston to the left of it. Place a couple of cobblestone here and here, or really any block. And next you want to place 4 redstone dust here, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Next you want to place a detector rail, a normal rail, an activated rail, and a powered rail. Now you want 2 obsidian here and here, and 2 redstone blocks there. Now you want to power these 2, but bug power them, so you place 2 redstone blocks up there. These cobblestone blocks technically don't need to be there, it's just placeholder blocks that you can actually place something above them. And now you pretty much just stand back and place a TNT minecart here and wait for it to explode. Then when it does explode, you'll see that it actually explodes the heads of the pistons. Now you can remove all of this stuff and begin with the actual setup. Make sure that at all times, they're both powered. So you can't see, but this one is a headless sticky piston, whereas this one is a headless normal piston. Next to the headless sticky piston, you want to place another piston over here, and you want to place a slime block right there, and 2 concrete blocks over here, with a piston facing downwards here, and the piston facing sideways here. This redstone block just happens to be powering all of these, but it doesn't matter, we'll power them properly later. So to get this piston facing downwards here, if you don't have some sort of mod, you could just place a piston like this, place a redstone block up there, and then place another piston right here, and this piston will push down that piston, and then you can remove those blocks. Now to get started with the redstone, you want to make sure to keep that redstone block there for now. You want to place a block there, and 4 blocks over here, starting from this piston over here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you want to place a repeater, comparator, repeater, comparator, comparator, repeater, repeater, and comparator. And even though these have the same delay, technically, the repeater and the comparator, it is crucial that they are the way they are. So for example, this has to be a comparator, like 100%. If it's a repeater, it will not work. Then you want to place some redstone dust here, and some more redstone dust over here, pointing into this block, starting from this block. Now you want to get a lever and flick it on. Now you want to remove this redstone block. And you can see at the moment, the bedrock under here is not broken, because this is the one we want to break. If we flick off this lever here, and we see we have this piston left over, and we break that piston, you see that there's actually a bedrock hole now. Now to explain it in creative, I'm going to give myself a debug stick, and this is for the purpose of making these headless, so I don't have to do the whole TNT setup in creative. Alright, so now I'm going to explain what actually happens here. So you can see that these all technically have the same delay of 2 redstone ticks or 4 game ticks. These are 2 repeaters, these are 2 comparators, etc, etc. The thing is that in the game tick, these all happen in different orders. Right, so now the order in which these depower. So I'm just gonna say the order. This, then this one, then this one, and lastly this one. So now these are all going to schedule block events for the pistons, and block events are basically things that the piston schedules so that it knows when to retract or extend. But the first one is going to be the first tile tick that happened. So this orange one, then this magenta one, then this blue one, and then this yellow one. I'm just placing the block event above the place where the block event is actually scheduled. So yeah, and these all tile ticks scheduled block events. Now the first one that get processed is this one, this orange one, and what that does is it makes this headless sticky piston start retracting through here, and that actually deletes the head of the piston here, and because the head of the piston got deleted, then the whole piston actually gets deleted, and now we have pretty much empty space here. Now the next one that happens is this purple one, and what that does is it makes this Piston D Power, which moves this slime block structure over here. Now remember, this piston just got removed because this headless sticky piston got depowered, or this headless piston got depowered, and now we can actually push the slime block structure over here, and this piston is going to start moving over here. So this piston actually creates a block 36 of itself over here, and that's going to be important for later. And this later is now. this piston, this headless sticky piston, has the next block event, and what happens when this one depowers is it actually places this piston over here because it retracts through the block 36 of this downwards facing piston, which instantly places it over here. So that's what the headless sticky piston there is for. It's to instantly place this downwards facing piston here. Now we have the last block event, which is this yellow one, and what this actually does is it makes this downwards facing piston that got placed over here because this whole structure moved, and this downwards facing piston is now over here, but we have a block event for retraction from the previous piston that was here, this one, and now it's going to basically retract through the bedrock, kind of like this, and then it's going to break the bedrock, but then the block event actually stores some information about the piston, and it makes this piston face sideways now again. So yeah, that's essentially how this bedrock breaking setup works, and yeah, let's move on to the next one. Right, so now this one is actually pretty easy. This is how it works. So say we wanted to break this piece of bedrock, we place a piston above there, and we place two blocks here. One of them actually has to be an obsidian block or some blast resistant block. And now we place a lever over here and two TNT. And next you want to place a trapdoor there, and you want to open it, and then you want to get a piston ready and get some sort of macro ready so you can fast place the piston. Turn the macro off for now. Turn on this lever, turn on this so that you're in this crouching position, and then spam right click over here with the macro, and it's gonna look like this. You flick this, you turn on this, you turn on the macro, and you spam right click, and here's how it looks like. So you know it's succeeded when the piston is facing upwards, because that means that the block event got transferred over to this upwards facing or piston that you were placing facing downwards, but it means that the block event of this piston that was exploded got transferred over to the piston that you placed, meaning that the piston you placed actually retracted through the bedrock and broke it. So the way that this works is also relatively simple, but there's a bit more stuff in terms of update order with a TNT going on here. So basically, when you flick this lever on, two things will happen, or three things technically. This TNT will ignite. That's the first thing because the lever actually is sitting right next to the TNT. Next thing is that this TNT is going to ignite because it happens after this one because it powers it through the block, which means that, yeah, it has to pass through a block. And the last thing that happens is because this lever was powering this block, this piston is bud powered, is QC powered, and the reason that it doesn't immediately update is because, nothing updates it. But the TNT that ignites actually updates it, which means that this piston now starts extending upwards. Now that means that the piston is extended, but when the TNT explodes, these two TNT explode at different times inside the game tick. So the first one that explodes is the first one that ignited, which is this one. This one explodes the lever, which the lever is in the on position, which is powering the piston. Now when it explodes, it flicks off the lever, and now the piston, starts retracting, or schedules a block event for retraction. Now this TNT happens next in the tick. It explodes after this one in the same game tick, but this TNT, when it explodes, it actually blows up this piston, which means that you can place a piston facing downwards here. And the reason you can actually place a piston in the same game tick as the piston exploded is because player interaction phase or player update phase, whatever it's called, it happens after the entity phase, which is where TNT explodes. TNT explodes in the entity phase, which means that, since the player phase happens after the entity phase, that means that you can actually place a piston here after this TNT exploded it, but still in the same game tick, meaning that the piston that you place is going to transfer the block event that this piston scheduled over to itself. Now the piston that you placed here has a block event for retraction, and it's going to look like this. It's just going to retract through the floor, but then the block event actually stored some information about the piston that it extended, or that scheduled it, so now it places it in the original piston's position, but everything's exploded, but yeah, it places it facing upwards. But anyway, yeah guys, that's gonna be it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!